No, you. But chat, let me switch over to ASMR. We're gonna be reading a no sleep story. It's one of like it's just from like the top of all fucking like the whole subreddit, so it's a very popular one. You probably even heard of it, but give me a sec, chat. Let me mentally prepare for this and get in the mood for this. I will lurk and eat. Hell yeah. Oh whoa, no sleep. Indeed, no sleep. But chat, get comfy. It's gonna be like 2 hours of this shit. It's gonna be 2 hours of this shit, chat. You ready? You ready, chat? I hope you get comfy. And I just realized I closed my fucking browser. God fucking damn it. I loved the scuff. I loved the scuff, chat. Alright, chat. God damn, dude. I hope this goes well for me. It's been a hot minute. And I hope I can entertain you, chat. So, we're going to be reading one that I think a lot of you guys have actually probably read yourselves, maybe. If you guys are a fan of No Sleep, the subreddit, there are some good stories on there, some not so great shit, but there are some good ones, some very good ones that are like relatively old. This one's actually from last year, but it is a really good one from what I remember. So this one is, my wife has been peeking at me from around corners and behind furniture. It's gone from weird to terrifying. If you guys have read this one, then I think y'all will enjoy this one, yeah? So let's begin, chat. My wife Lynn and I have been together for 6 years and married for 11 months. Our entire history together has been very normal, and never once have I noticed any weird behaviors or red flags. I can't stress enough how out of character this whole thing is for her. Lynn is very kind, intelligent, and thoughtful. She's always been the no nonsense type person. Being childish or trying to scare me is not something she'd normally do. She doesn't even like watching horror movies. When we first started dating, she agreed to watch The Shining with me because she knew how much I loved horror. She was so scared that she didn't even make it through half of the movie before we had to turn it off. She isn't into anything creepy and has never been into pranks. It's just not her cup of tea. And that's fine, but that's what's so strange about this. It's just so unlike her. I should also add that she has never really had any mental health issues, and as far as I'm aware, it doesn't run in her family. I know some people are able to hide their mental health problems, but in the 6 years we've been together, I think I have seen some sort of sign. 2 months ago, I was in the kitchen making myself some coffee before work. I was running a bit late that morning and knew I wouldn't be able to make it to Dunkin' Donuts for my usual morning fix. I Bleh. Bleh. I took a sip of coffee as I hurried down the hall towards the front door when I happened to notice Lynn peeking at me from around the corner ahead of me. I could only see her eyes and a strand of her long, dark hair hanging against the wall. The rest of her body was concealed behind the corner. I nearly spilled my coffee when I saw her. I did burn the shit out of my lips. Geez, Lynn, I said, wiping a few drops of my coffee from my pants. You scared the shit out of me. She immediately popped out of view like a little kid that had been caught. I heard her scurry off towards the living room, and by the time I got to the front door, she was out of sight. It was really weird and just totally out of character for her, like I said. Hi, Aurora. What's up? Hello. Hi. Hello, hello. Hi. I am currently reading some spooky stories. But hello. Did you eat the chip yet? No, we're not gonna eat the chip just yet. We're gonna eat the chip during my 24-hour stream, which won't be till the 29th of April. I posted it on my Twitter. But yeah, I have not eaten the chip yet. I have it in my fucking room. It's literally like right above me. Did you see the gif I posted about it on your tweet? Yes, I did. I did. Oh god, yeah, it's very accurate to what's gonna happen. I'm afraid of that thing, dude. I've heard so many bad things and so many people saying like it's nothing, or like it's like the worst thing I've ever had, dude. I am nervous, but I said I was gonna do it if we hit 500 followers before February. We are well past 500, by the way. We are like at 536, I think. So yeah, it's fucking something, dude. But okay, yeah. I'm currently reading on NoSleep story. If that's your cup of tea, the one chip challenge. Yes, Rin, I'm gonna be doing the one chip challenge, dude. Should be quite a bit of fun. You guys get to see me suffer. Or are you asking because you don't know what the one chip challenge is? I did it already. Yeah, how was it, dude? How was it, dude? How did it treat you? You should check your DMs. Know me, Ooop. Give me a sec. Let me check my DMs. No. No. No, Brick. Stop. Brick. Brick, stop. Brick yourself. I was in the bathroom for a few hours. Yeah, that sounds about right. Did you ever fire? Never. Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. Yeah. All right. Oh, god damn it. You can hear my chair squeaking. I'm so sorry if you can't chat. Make me stop. Ooh. Damn, that's crazy. I'm gonna turn off notification DMs. Where was I? Oh. It was really weird and just totally out of character for her, like I said, but I also found it kind of funny that she was being more playful and less serious. I shouted that I loved her and called her a weirdo. As I shut the door behind me, I heard her laughing. Strimmer mode, strimmer mode! Her behavior was a bit odd, but it certainly wasn't something to call a priest over. I forgot about it by lunch, and by the time I got home, she was her normal self. I didn't bring it up, and neither did she, and life went on. The next incident happened 3 days later. It was around 2 a.m., and I had woken up to get a drink. I was standing at the kitchen island, jug and OJ in hand, when I felt a strong feeling that I was being watched. I know this one. This is the one where Dumbledore dies. Yeah, where Dumbledore dies. For whatever reason, I looked down at the floor and saw my wife's smiling face staring back. She was peeking at me from the other side of the island, staring up at me with wide, unblinking eyes, and grinning. Grinning like the wait for me to ruin it. Grinning like the Cheshire cat. Oh god, English. Cheshire cat? Is it Cheshire? Also, my voice is cracking. Cheshire cat. I screamed. I'll admit it. Not out of irration, but fear. For some reason, at that moment, I was scared. At the sound of my scream, Lynn scuttled backwards out of my view, her hands and feet smacking the floor as she hurried out of the kitchen on all fours. I didn't run after her or even yell after her. I just stood there, frozen, in shock, wondering what the fuck had possessed her to do that. It took me a little longer than I'd like to admit to go back upstairs, but eventually I did, and when I got to our bedroom, Lynn was lying on her side, asleep. Or at least, pretending to be. I stood there for a while, watching her breathing to be sure she was really asleep. I had a feeling she might jump out at me at any moment I got into bed. But she didn't. I climbed into bed and she didn't even move. Her breathing was soft and deep, and I was starting to wonder if I dreamt the whole thing. The next morning, I waited for her to come down for coffee, and after handing her a mug and kissing her cheek, I decided to ask her about it. Hey, what was that about last night? I asked, keeping my tone light so I didn't offend or embarrass her. She frowned over her cup of coffee, shaking her head like she had no clue what I was referring to. You were peeking at me again, from over there. I pointed to the spot on the floor by the kitchen island. She followed my gaze, and when she looked back at me, she burst out laughing. She laughed so hard that I couldn't help but join her. You creep me the fuck out sometimes, you know, I said. She giggled and set her cup on the counter and wrapped her arms around my neck. You creep me out all the time, so I guess we're even, she teased. We said our goodbyes and left for work. As I drove, I kept thinking about how creepy I had been seeing her grinning at me from behind the island like that. The sound her hands made. Check your DMs part 2 when you can. Ooh, yeah? Yeah? I'm gonna, you know what I'm gonna say to you? Brick, shit yourself. Sucking Tom Cruise's toes. Thank you so much for the follow, dude. I do appreciate it. Welcome to the scuff. That fucking name, dude. That is fucking amazing. Love that name. Holy shit, dude. That name is amazing. I know I said I probably shouldn't pay attention to fucking like followers right now, but that name, dude, is something else. I love it. Blush? No, don't blush. That's one hell of a one hell of a name. Ba ba ba. We said our goodbyes and left for work. As I drove, I kept thinking about how creepy it had been seeing her grinning at me from behind the island like that. The sounds of her hands made on the floor as she crawled away. I told myself she was just trying to be silly, just trying to join me in my love of all things horror. It's not that I was afraid of her, but it still didn't sit right with me. I started seeing her peek more at me. I started seeing her peeking at me more and more. Sometimes she'd peek out from behind the couch or living room curtains. Once, she even managed to get inside her grandmother's old trunk that sits at the foot of our bed. Wow, that's fucking horrifying, dude. This is not normal. I might not have even known she was there at all had the trunk's old hinges not given her away. She had the lid propped up just enough so that only the half of her face peeked out through. She'd been grinning like an excited toddler. It was unnerving. I didn't even know what to say to her. All I could do was stare. When I finally found my voice, I asked her why on earth she was doing this. She didn't answer, but she had slowly closed the lid, shutting herself inside the trunk. I just walked away, feeling disturbed. I didn't understand why she was doing it, but it clearly made her happy. I just hoped she would tire of the game quickly. Lynn didn't peek at me for the next 2 weeks. I started to think she was done with her weird prank, and I was relieved. We were watching a show on Netflix one night, and I jokingly said that I hadn't seen her peeking at me lately, and that she must have given up on her spy game. She looked up at me with a smile and said, "Maybe I've just gotten better at it." I didn't say anything, but I wonder whether or not she was joking. For the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about what she had said. Was she still peeking at me when I wasn't looking, and I just hadn't noticed? And if so, what the hell was she getting out of this? I started to feel paranoid, constantly checking whether she was watching from around the corner or behind a door. I was jumpy whenever I was home, and she wasn't in full view of me. I felt stupid and a little crazy. But after a few weeks without another incident, I began to relax. I stopped checking behind furniture and walls and told myself it was just a bad memory. Then, a few days ago, things got so much worse. Lynn left to go to a friend's house, and I lounged on the couch and played a couple games on my laptop. Around 9 p.m., I hopped in the shower, and as I was watching the soap from my hair, I felt that awful feeling that I was being watched. I slowly opened my eyes and almost had a fucking heart attack. Lynn was peeking from behind the shower curtain, her entire head stretched into the shower, leaving just her body outside. Her long dong. I should have some ambiance in the background. I forgot to set that up real quick. Long dong chat, her long dong. There we go. Some rain should kind of pull in the vibe. I don't know how the volume is, chat, but Tell me if it's a bit fucky. It looks good on my end. I don't know. Okay, anyways. Where was I? That today looked like the ending scene from the New Forest game. I have not played the New Forest. I have not beat the New Forest game, so I actually had no idea. It looks good, and it just kind of fits the vibe a bit, IMO. Where was I? Her long hair hung against the curtain, the ends dripping with water. Her mouth hung open in a terrifying grin, eyes wide and red, as if she hadn't blinked in a while. I screamed and jumped back against the wall. She didn't move, nor did her smile waver. Her makeup ran down her cheeks in 2 black streaks. She looked giddy and completely deranged. I was fucking terrified. We stood like that for a few moments, neither of us saying a word. Finally, after what felt like forever, she slowly pulled her head back out of the shower, and I watched her blurry figure through the curtain as she moved backwards towards the bathroom door. A second later, the bathroom door slammed shut, hard enough to rattle the mirror. I screamed again and jumped out of the shower to lock the door. I stayed inside the shower for an hour. Maybe I overreacted to some of you, but joke or not, I wasn't gonna put up with the crazy shit anymore. That's what I kept telling myself as I paced in my bathroom, stopping to listen at the door every few minutes. Suddenly, I heard a muffled sound, and I pressed my ear against the bathroom door, straining to listen. I couldn't hear anything, but I envisioned Lynn standing on the other side of the door, giggling at her joke. I felt a surge of anger. I was beyond pissed, and being made to feel scared in my own house. Wow. I was beyond pissed at being made to feel scared in my own house and made to hide in the bathroom for an hour. All for what? Some joke? If it was a joke, it was an awful one. What the fuck, Lynn? I snapped. This shit is getting really fucking annoying. I waited for her to apologize or call me a jerk, but instead, I heard a faint moan. So quiet, I wondered if I heard it at all. And then, complete silence. Lynn? I called. Not able to hide my shakiness in my voice. I got no response, just my own heavy breathing. I swear to God, just fucking stop it, I yelled, pounding my fist on the door. I waited for her to cuss me out. Something I would expect from me talking to her like that. I never screamed at her before. But there was nothing. Just the occasional drip from the shower head. I won't deny I was scared, too afraid to open the damn door and face my own wife. I waited for another 30 minutes or so, which felt like a fucking lifetime when you're scared. Finally, I decided I wasn't going to spend the night hiding in my bathroom, so I got down on my knees and peered under the door. I almost expected her face peeking back at me, but thankfully it didn't. I couldn't see straight down the hallway to the top of the stairs, but no Lynn. I didn't know if I should be happy about that or not. I looked for a few minutes, waiting to see her head pop up over the top step, but it never came. I stood up, my hand hovering over the door, and mentally preparing myself to open it. I slowly turned the lock with shaky fingers and was about to yank it open when I heard a sound that still makes me feel nauseous when I think about it. A moan, louder than before, but this time, I was able to tell just where it was coming from. I turned my head to the closet door, as if in slow motion, and locked my eyes with my wife, who was peeking out at me from the slight gap. Her eyes were as wide as ever, and her mouth was hanging open in the most grotesque gaping smile I'd ever seen. I didn't even scream. I was too scared for even that. Her hands were clasped to her chest, body trembling with sheer delight, as if she could barely contain her excitement. A short, raspy moan bubbled up from her throat, deep and raw, sending a shiver through my entire body. Somehow, I found the ability to pull the bathroom door open and ran as fast as I could all the way down the steps, snagging my keys and phone from the table in the living room before running outside to my car. I could hear her shrill laughter behind me, but I didn't hear her getting closer. I didn't even bother shutting the front door. I drove as far away from the house, faster than I legally should have, shivering the entire time. Oh my, deep and raw. That's a wombo combo for real, right? That is a wombo combo for real. He went out of his car naked? I think he did. I don't think he said, the snagging my keys and phone from that. Yeah, I think my man's just went out all naked, dude. He actually just ran out naked. Cool. Oh, natural, indeed. Damn, dude. I drove away from the house faster than I legally should have, shivering the entire time, either from fear or the cold. Maybe a little bit of both. I hadn't grabbed the coat or even a pair of shoes. I was still in my boxers and my hair was still damp. Oh, there we go. He wasn't naked. He was in his boxers. I don't blame him though. I don't blame him either. I drove straight to my brother Chris's house about 40 minutes away, ignoring any and every call and text I got. I didn't check my phone until I was safely parked in my brother's driveway. Lynn had called 4 times and sent a flurry of texts, all wondering where I'd gone and why I left like that. I threw my phone at the dash in rage, furious at her nonchalant attitude. My brother and his wife were surprised to see me, especially dressed in a pair of boxers, but told me to stay as long as I needed. Chris lent me some clothes and asked me what happened. I told them Lynn and I had a fight, but didn't get into the details. I didn't want to think that I was overreacting, leaving my wife over a prank, even if it was a strange one. Hadn't I encouraged her for years to lighten up instead of being so serious all the time? I had wanted her to relax and loosen up, but this was definitely not what I had in mind. I tried to sleep on the sofa, but my brain wouldn't let me sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lynn's face staring at me from the closet. Knowing she had been in there with me the entire time made my skin crawl. She never left the fucking room at all. Instead, she slipped into the closet and slammed the bathroom door shut to fool me. The mere thought of going back home gave me anxiety. I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Chris ended up giving me a sleeping pill so I was able to get a little rest. My sleep was filled with terrible dreams, all of Lynn's smiling face. Oh no, I can't boop. Indeed, you can't boop. But hi, crazy. How are you, dude? Sorry, I was checking something. I just wanted my wife back. Her normal, serious self never looked so good to me. I was contemplating calling her and telling her that when that familiar feeling came over me. I was being watched. I was staring at the ceiling, my heart in my throat. I didn't want to look away, but the longer I ignored the feeling, the worse I got. How am I doing? Was doing good? Hell yeah, dude. My eyes drifted away from the ceiling, almost on their own. But now that I found that no boop, unfortunately no boop. I could turn it back on. Boop doesn't seem to be too bad of a redeem. My eyes... But her face was pressed up against the window besides the couch, staring down at me with the same gaping smile. Drool dribbled down her lips, leaving 2 long streaks down the glass. I didn't know how long she'd been there, but something told me she'd been there quite a while. Possibly all night. I didn't bother screaming, though I was afraid anger trumped any fear I felt at the moment. I jumped up from the couch and pounded my palm against the glass. How did she find him? Who fucking knows, dude? Lynn, are you crazy? What the hell is wrong with you? Just go home, I shouted. Now. Yandere vibe? Indeed. She didn't move, and her ghastly expression never changed. If anything, her smile only grew, as if she had never been more elated. I could hear Chris and his wife moving upstairs, as if Lynn could hear them from her place outside. Her head twitched slightly in that direction and began to close her mouth slowly. Chris called my name from upstairs, obviously concerned. I turned to see him and his wife Rebecca hurrying down the steps. When I turned back to the window, Lynn was gone. The only sign she had been there was the 2 streaks of drool still dribbling down the glass. In all seriousness, I'm doing alright. Hell yeah, dude. Good to hear. You came in just in time. This is barely our first story of the night. We're gonna be doing the, which one are we gonna be doing? We're gonna be doing the, I forgot what it was called. We're gonna be doing the Reddit fucking park ranger ones. Later. I tried to explain to Chris and Rebecca about waking up to see Lynn watching me through their window. They were skeptical. Who wouldn't be? Chris and I even went outside to spot in front of the window, but there was no footprints in the dirt, just a slight indent. An animal, probably. Chris guessed, and I didn't argue. He and Rebecca assumed I dreamt the entire episode, but they didn't understand, and I was too tired to explain it to them. I called out of work that day and turned my cell off. I didn't want to face Lynn. Just talking to her was too much for me at that point. I really started to believe something was irreversibly wrong with her, that no matter what promises she made, we'd never be the same again. The thought saddened me to the core. I cried most of the morning, but by noon I figured I was ready to confront her. Give her one last chance to explain herself. I could at least give her that after 6 years, I told myself. I turned my phone on and saw the dozens of texts she sent me, all from a seemingly concerned wife. Can we talk? I love you. Please call me. I'm really worried. Can you answer me? Just come home. And more of the same. All texts telling me she loved me and she wanted me home. How worried she was. Not a damn one addressing the crazy shit she pulled. Like she hadn't been
What a cute little pet I found.
Thank you so much for the follow, dude. Call me senpai or daddy. Thank you so much for the follow, dude. I do appreciate it. Welcome, welcome. Like she hadn't been acting like a character from a Stephen King book. Even her texts were different. She normally texted novels just to tell me to pick up a loaf of bread. You'd think she had more to say after all these bizarre shenanigans. Hey yo, new pet? Indeed. You can call me daddy, little Discord kitten. No. You wish. I ain't calling nobody daddy. Sorry to disappoint. I ended up staying with Chris and Rebecca for another night. I didn't wake up yesterday until noon, and thankfully, I didn't see Lynn's face watching me through the window. I don't want to pry because it's not my place, but is this fight something that can be mended? Rebecca asked. She made us both a sandwich for lunch. I knew she wanted to breach the subject without seeming too nosy. Ban, so much ban. If the next words out of the next words is something else, then yeah. Where's me hammer? What a ballsy first thing to say to me. But hi, hello, welcome to the stream. How are you? That's funny. Where's my hammer? I don't know where the hammer is. Where was I? I don't know. She's like a different person, I said. He'll be calling her mommy in no time. That's it, I'm getting me mallet. I don't want to pry because it's not my place, but is this fight something that can be mended? Rebecca asked. She made us both a sandwich for lunch, and I knew she wanted to breach the subject without seeming too nosy. I don't know, she's like a different person. Choosing my words carefully, I still wasn't ready for her, or Chris, to know the full extent of the batshit craziness I had been dealing with. People change, Ben, but she's still the same woman you married. Thank you for the hydrate, Necro! Thank you! My voice is getting a bit phlegmy. But hello, how are you? Maybe you both need to just talk through your issues. Whatever's going on, I'm sure it can be fixed. she said. Ever the peacemaker. I think it's beyond that now. No, you crazy. I don't think talking would help. I just don't trust her, I said. The words stung my heart. I missed and loved my wife, but how could I live with someone like that? Living in constant fear didn't sound too appealing. Doing pretty good, just got off work. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Get comfy, get some rest, eat some food if you haven't. You deserve it, fam. Lynn loves you. She has to be absolutely crushed, she said. I don't know about that, I said. Well, she certainly seemed like it to me. I never seen her so upset. Very much unlike Lynn, I know, Rebecca said, shaking her head sadly. That's not the goal. The goal is to play a scary game. Hell yeah, gonna eat that Nomi toast. Leave the Nomi toast alone. Leave my Nomi bean alone. Hi, also. Hello, hello. Hello, hello, also. God damn, people just showing up. Hi. Feetsies. The tootsies. Well, she certainly seemed like it to me. I've never seen her so upset. Nom the grippers indeed. Know me grippers indeed. How am I doing? I'm doing pretty good, dude. We're just barely getting through our first story of the night. I got like 3 more to go too. I'm having fun though. I think this one's pretty good. Need grippers of my own. I need grippers for real, fam. Well, she certainly seemed like it to me. I've never seen her so upset. Very much unlike the Lynn I know, Rebecca said, shaking her head sadly. No, redeems are off, Aurora. I turned off my redeems. Yeah, I turned off redeems because I don't want them to distract from the story. I know it probably kills the vibe and whatnot, but yeah, it'd be that way sometimes. It took a full minute for her words to really sink in, and when they did, I felt the dread worming its way through my skin. Wait, what do you mean? You saw her? You saw Lynn? I asked, my mouth suddenly dry. Rebecca nodded casually, as if the fact wasn't nightmare fuel. Maybe for her it wasn't. She stopped by this morning, just after Chris left for work, she said, cleaning the plates from the table. I didn't see her car, though. Maybe she took an Uber or something. Beck, what did she say? Did she come inside? I asked, sweat starting to break out of my forehead. I began looking around, examining corridors as though a predator lurked behind them. No, she just asked if you were awake yet, and I said you weren't. I asked if she wanted me to wake you, but she said no, just to let you sleep. She said as she washed the dishes, took an Uber, and ate the driver. Tasty Uber driver. Thank you for the look, crazy. That's all? She didn't say anything else? I asked. No. I mean, having a giant foot telling a story is another kind of vibe. I mean, I'm sure some people are into that. No, she looked awful, though. Like she hadn't slept in days. I think you should call her. I got up from the table and thanked Rebecca for lunch. I feel a bit better at the knowledge that at least she hadn't come inside. Yes, giant foot it is it? Still, I needed to double check that the doors were locked. I sat for a while trying to figure out what to do next. I didn't want to go home, but I felt that I owed it to Lynn to help her if I could. Hadn't I swore an oath to love her and to love and honor her through sickness and in health? Clearly she was very sick. I don't know if I want to switch to the giant foot, dude. I don't know if you want a giant foot to be telling the story. If she was sick, which I truly believe she was, I had to try and get her the help she needed, but I didn't even know where to start. I didn't want to call the police, and besides, what the hell was I gonna tell them? That my wife was peeking at me? That she was being creepy? As bizarre as she's been, she still hadn't committed any crime. Not yet, anyway. The police would have probably said that I was overreacting, but this wasn't some prank. It felt wrong, dangerous even, like something sinister lurked behind that smile. I knew, as her husband, I was well within my right to have her committed, but what if she simply acted normal in their presence? She's obviously been able to fool Rebecca into thinking that she was just a concerned wife. As long as the doctors didn't find a danger to herself or others, they'd have no choice but to release her after 72 hours. I felt lost and overwhelmed. So I did what any husband in my position would do. I called her mother. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to, believe me. Her mother, Marianne, and I were never on the best terms. We'd never fought or anything like that. She just wasn't a very warm person, and wasn't really easy to get along with. She hardly ever smiled, and when she did, only her lips would move into a thin lipped smile, leaving her eyes as blank as before. She gave off this aura that felt like she was permanently on the offensive. I'd only met her twice, and both times were just for short visits. I got the impression that she didn't approve of me for her daughter. Lynn always ushered us out quickly, and she didn't want me to feel uncomfortable, which I was grateful for. Being in her mother's company felt almost unbearable, like walking on glass. I was glad when we moved 3 states away, so we didn't have to see her often. I was happy to avoid the woman, but I needed her help. Oh, God. Ah. My brain is hurting, chat. I'm getting an idea. Oh, my brain's hurting. Fuck. Ow. What the fuck, dude? It's just a sharp fucking pain in my fucking side. Oh, we heard and hi, Vanta. Appendicitis. Is it appendicitis of the brain? Yeah, that sounds about right. I really didn't want to talk to her. Drink water? Yeah, I just drank some water. I really didn't want to talk to her at all, but I had to talk to someone, and someone who knew Lynn better than I did, so I grit my teeth and did what I had to do. Yes, she answered, already sounding irritated. Marianne, it's me, Ben. Do you have a minute to talk? I asked. I could hear her cluck her tongue in irritation. I'm in the middle of writing some checks, but if you insist, I suppose I can spare a moment. What is it that you want to discuss, Benjamin? She said, coolly. It's about Lynn. She's been acting strangely, and I was wondering if you had any idea wherever there was something. I was quickly interrupted. It's a bit difficult to follow your ramblings, Benjamin. What is it that you want from me? She's writing checks. She got the cold, hard checks, bro. She asked. How very boomer of her. On God, dude. I could almost see her standing there in her thin sweater and slacks, tapping her fingernails impatiently on the table. I wanted to know if you've ever noticed any odd behavior or possibly any mental health issues, I asked. There was a long, uncomfortable pause that I couldn't tell was because she was just thinking or something else. Finally, after a few seconds, she spoke. I'm not sure if this is one of your jokes, Benjamin, but if so, I don't find the humor in it. Now, I do have business to attend, as I said, so if you don't mind, she said, but I cut her off before she could get rid of me. Marianne, this is no joke. She should send me a check looking like, oh God, dude, she should send me one too. I'm sincerely concerned about Lynn's mental health. Her behavior has been very erratic lately. I'm very worried about her, and I figured as her mother, you would be as well, I said, my frustration evident in my voice. If you're truly concerned, then I suggest you get the health professionals involved. I don't know what you expect of me, she snapped. I could tell she was seconds away from hanging up, and for some reason I was desperate not to let her. I had a feeling that she knew a lot more than she was letting on. Please, if not for me, for Lynn. I tried. This guy is so weird. This guy's so wired or weird. He is kind of weird. He's kind of struggling to kind of get the point across, dude. We don't want mother, we want mommy. Yeah, you want mommy. Yeah, Necro, you want mommy to take care of you, honey. He just like me, for real, for real. I heard a faint, shaky intake of breath, as if she were trying to hold her steely persona together, but failing. Marianne, what's wrong? I started. Benjamin, I don't know what to tell you. My only advice would be to seek professional help. Do not call here again. Goodbye. I tried to call out to her, but she hung up. I tried to wrap my head around the call and her refusal to help me. Even if she didn't like me, why wouldn't she want to help her own daughter? I couldn't understand that. I tried to replay the conversation, desperate to find something I missed. After a while, I almost gave up, until I remembered her last words to me: seek professional help. She said those words with a bit of urgency. I could have just been grasping at straws, but no. I was sure her voice had changed ever so slightly when she said that, as if they were very important. What had she meant? I assumed she'd be referring to medical professionals, but maybe she was referring to someone else. Someone that she didn't, for some reason, feel comfortable saying directly. Or maybe I was just desperate. I waited for Chris to get home. After a very long and exhausting conversation with him and Rebecca, I convinced them that Lynn truly needed psychiatric help. I didn't tell him everything. I wasn't prepared to go into it yet, but I told them about our last encounter, how she'd hidden in the bathroom peeking at me from the closet. They were obviously shocked, but thankfully they believed me. They too wanted to help her. Still, they didn't think it was all that serious. Weird maybe, but not serious. They just kept saying that Lynn had been playing some kind of weird joke. Maybe for YouTube, Rebecca offered, if only half-heartedly. Chris didn't think we should involve the police just yet. He offered instead to go with me, and I readily accepted. He reasoned that calmly talking to her, trying to coax her into going willingly, was the best recourse. I agreed to do it his way. He took too much Prozac. He had too much Prozac, bro. At least, I wouldn't be going into that house alone. We drove over this morning, just after breakfast. There was no way I was going in at night. When we pulled into the driveway, my stomach began doing somersaults. Her car wasn't there, but I still didn't let my guard down. The front door was ajar, and for a split second, I thought we see her eyes staring through the gap. I was shaking and starting to sweat. Chris, however, was fine. He waited for me to open the door, his hands in his pockets like he was going on a fucking stroll through the park. I envied his ignorance. I pushed the door open. Bro, does she even drive? Well, she has a car. Like, it was stated that she has a car, so... I don't know. I'm not quite sure. He did say that she has a car, that her car wasn't there or whatever, so I don't know. Not quite sure. It is strange, though. Won't deny it. She is a material girl. But Dad, I'm a material girl. Get out of my house. She can't eat Uber drivers if she drives, though. But she can eat DoorDash drivers if, like, she orders food. I pushed the door open and was immediately hit with the stench of rot. Chris smelled it too, and we walked into the house behind me with his nose scrunched up. What do you guys use to clean the floors around here? Shit? Chris mumbled. Shut up, I said, my eyes darting around for any signs of Lynn. The house was deadly quiet and dark despite it being 10 in the morning. All the curtains were closed up tight, refusing to allow any sunlight inside. The smell of rot. The smell of rotting. Something died in that house. Something died in that house. It is the smell of rot. We moved in just 24 hours. I have a feeling, and I don't know because I haven't read the story since it came out. I made a cameo. I'm dead. Oh no, Ghost is dead. Time to eat the body. No, but I'm gonna give a quick guess, chat, and say that maybe she's been dead for quite a while. Just it might be a thought that she might have been dead for quite a bit already. My name is Ghost now. Oh sheesh. All the curtains were closed up tight, refusing any sunlight inside. If I hadn't left it just 2 days prior, I'd have thought the house was abandoned. We moved through each room, carefully checking any place that she might hide, occasionally calling her name. Why the fuck are you looking under the couch? Chris asked eventually. Aren't we looking for your wife? He asked, looking at me like I was a moron. Let's just go upstairs, I whispered. He shook his head, but followed me up there to check the bathroom and spare bedroom. On the way up, my shoes crunched the... Sorry, I just burped. Oh, there's some ASMR for you, chat. Oh, that was a chunky one. On the way up, my shoes crunched over pieces of glass that looked to be littered all over the steps. Oh yeah, let me do a little sniffle too. Sniffle. I noticed the one of Lynn and my wedding portraits that hung on the wall along the staircase had been smashed. The frame hung crookedly, all the glass removed. I stared at the picture, a lump forming in my throat. We had taken the photo just after leaving the church, after saying our vows. Our vows. Not vows. Our vows. She looked so beautiful in her white gown. I looked at Lynn's beautiful face. I never dreamed her face would ever be a source of terror to me. We climbed the rest of the steps and checked the spare bedroom, but it looked completely untouched. I was hesitant to go to my bathroom, my fear from that night coming back to me all at once. Chris noticed and offered to go in by himself, but I couldn't let him do that, so we walked together, checking the closet and the shower. The bathroom looked like as if it hadn't been touched since the night I left. I don't think she's here, Ben. Why don't you pack some clothes and we'll try coming back tomorrow or something? Chris said. I nodded and went into her bedroom and shoved some clothes into a duffel bag. When I checked inside her closet, I came across the source of the smell and gagged. Chris took one look and lost all color in his face. He had to go stand by the stairs to get away from the sight and smell. I gazed down in shock at what lay inside the bedroom closet. Soaking into the rug were at least 12 eyeballs, all carefully laid out in pairs. Some were as large as a quarter, while others were as tiny as a marble. I stared down at the eyes she'd collected from small animals and wondered how she'd gotten them, and shuddered at the thought. Man, I thought I had it with Becca's shoe addiction, but fuck me, your wife's in here collecting eyeballs, Chris gagged. Ben, I think we should go, he called from the hall. I'm getting nauseous. Those stunk up the whole house, just eyeballs. I have a feeling there might be some corpses somewhere around there. There's no way that just eyeballs would be enough to stink up a whole house. Alright. I grabbed my duffel bag and shut the closet door on my new nightmare. I stepped out into the hall and took a deep breath of air. I could taste the rot on my tongue and couldn't help but gag. Who the fuck lines up the eyeballs in their closet like that? Chris mumbled. Okay, first of all, Chris is taking that way too calm, dude. Maybe I'm not reading it too properly, but Chris is acting a bit too fucking calm about that. I tried to tell you she needed help, I said. She doesn't need help, Ben. She needs a fucking exorcist, he said. You coming or what? I can't stand the smell any. His words died in his throat and his eyes grew wide with fear. I didn't ask him why. I could feel it. Someone was watching me. And I didn't think it was the eyes in the closet. I turned around, my eyes slowly scanning the bedroom. Christ, I whispered, as I finally saw what we missed. Under the bed, curled on her side, watching us with the excitement of a kid on Christmas morning, was my wife. She held her hands together, just under her chin, and they were shaking eagerly. Now that she knew she'd been found, I could hear the quiet noises she was making, a sort of hiccuping sound in her throat. as if the excitement was just too much for her. It was unnerving to say the least. Wide eyes and that huge, same smile. Everything told me to run, but I forced it away. That was my wife. No matter how twisted she was, still that woman I was married. Wow. No matter how twisted, she was still the woman I had married. I had to help her. Lynn, I said softly. She didn't respond, but her head bobbed back and forth in two quick little movements as she were nodding. Baby, I just want to help, okay? Can you let me do that? I asked. I had taken a single step forward, approaching her like some kind of dangerous animal. I love you, Lynn, I said softly, taking another step closer. She let a tiny moan escape her wide open mouth, and I had to resist the urge to run. Her shoulders were starting to quiver, and her eyes grew as large as saucers. I crouched down so I could see her better, and I immediately saw blood. Her hands were covered in it. They trembled more the closer I got, as if she was barely able to contain herself. Lynn, are you hurt? You're bleeding, I said. She bobbed her head again, her bloody fingers moving up and down as if she was playing an invisible piano. They occasionally grazed her chin, leaving smears of blood on her skin. It is my duty to save this woman. It is my duty to stab this woman. That's what she needs. She needs to be stabbed, dude. She's fucking insane. She's fucking scaring the shit out of me. I wanted to recoil in disgust. The smell was coming off of her was revolting. I could feel the vomit trying to climb up my throat. Her lips were dry and stretched thin, blood seeping through the cracks. I knew she wouldn't come out of her own, but I didn't want to leave her in the state she was in. I scooted closer and reached out to her. I thought you liked crazy women, Nomi. Not this crazy. Also, I'm the type of crazy that I like. I'm the type of crazy that I enjoy, okay? The excited hiccuping sounds got louder, and her hand shook, fingers flexing. It was then that I could see the blood oozing from in between her fingers. What is wrong with this guy? He's reaching out to her, low fare. This guy is certainly not the best. How do I put it? The best. Fuck me. How do I put it? He's not the best protagonist I've seen. He is a generic. He is white. I'm white, Chad, but I ain't this white. I would have left and called the cops almost instantly, saying, it's like, hey, there's a pair of fucking eyeballs in the closet, and my wife is lying on the goddamn floor bleeding. Something fucking happened. I would have called the cops already. Instinctively, I reached out to take her hand, but before I could even touch her, her hand sprang out towards me. A sharp pain shot through my arm, and I fell back on my ass. My arm burned, and I could see the blood dripping down on the carpet. I looked back at her in shock and saw her grinning madly, her fingers clutching a large shard of glass. "You all right in there?" Chris asked from behind me. Jeffrey Dahmer 2.0, she is something else. I turned my head slightly and nodded to him, cradling my arm to my chest. When I turned back to face Lynn, I saw that her focus had shifted. She wasn't looking at me anymore, and she wasn't smiling. She was staring past me, her eyes glaring at Chris the way a hungry lion might stare at an antelope. Her mouth was still hanging open, but it was twisted into a snarl. I got to my feet and began walking backwards down the hall, afraid to take my eyes off her. "Are you bleeding?" Chris asked. The moment the words left his mouth, Lynn started fast, scooting out from under the bed and glass shard in her fist. "Chris, run, go!" I yelled. He must have been too afraid to move, because a second later I felt my back bump into him. He was standing at the top of the stairs, staring at the horror that was my wife. Lynn had crawled completely out from the bed and stood in the bedroom doorway, her face twisted in rage. Her whole body was visibly tense, blood running down her fingers and onto the floor. "Jesus, Lynn," Chris said. Playing hide and seek? I reached back and pushed him down the steps. Move your ass, Chris, I said, and quietly but firm as quietly and but firmly as I could. Lynn bobbed her head in a fast, sharp motion and began to grin, stretching her mouth open wider and wider so that her chin seemed to touch her chest. I heard Chris mutter a prayer, and that he was running down as he was running down the stairs. I stood at the top of the steps, stuck between the love for a woman who clearly needed serious help and self-preservation. I only want to help, I said, choking back tears. Her eyes focused on me once again as she slowly lifted the glass, holding it out in front of her. And then she started sprinting towards me, grinning with utter excitement. Thankfully, my body took over and I flew down the stairs, skipping 2 or 3 at a time. I made it to the front door before I felt her leap onto my back, wrapping her arms around my neck, her mouth next to my ear so that I could hear those terrible hiccuping sounds up close. I shook her off of me, knocking her to the floor. I felt the searing pain in my back as she went, but I tore open the front door and bolted to my car. Chris was standing in the front yard, talking on the phone with the police. I didn't say a word. I just ran to my car and jumped in. Chris took the hint and followed me, still on the line with 911. Jesus Christ, dude. She's a bit nutty, you know? She's a bit crazy. Bro, she was like my precious. Indeed she was. She was indeed my precious, dude. God fucking damn it, dude. She is something else. Chris was standing in the front yard area with that. I watched the rearview mirror, sure that I'd seen her there, running after us, but I never did. I went straight to the ER and I got 11 stitches in my arm and 3 on my back. The police asked me a lot of questions and went back to the house to do a search, but of course Lynn wasn't there. They advised me to stay with a friend or relative for a while and to file a restraining order as soon as I could, but none of those things would matter. Somehow I just knew. I dropped Chris off at home and went to a motel an hour away. I wanted to put as much distance between me and Lynn as possible. This is where I've been for the last 4 hours. I thought maybe the police would find her. Maybe they'd get her the help she desperately needs. But now I don't think so. Because 40 minutes ago I got a text from an unknown number. Just 3 words. I found you. A picture attached. The picture was dark and grainy, but I instantly knew what it was. There was no mistaking my wife's eyes. I started typing this out immediately after. I don't know what to do. I'm alone and scared, and I can't help but feel I'm being watched. The end. Well then. I don't know if there was ever a second part to this. Yandere, I found you. I found you. I found you. We can be together. Finally. Yeah. I straight up do not think there was ever a sequel to this story. That's unfortunate, but yeah, I straight up don't think that there was ever a sequel to this story, which is very, very sad indeed.